The At Home Show.
Everyone, please sit down. We are here to decide whether or not to vote out the one known as the Yard Boy. Has he called us of late? Has he even let his presence known? Yes, I understand he has his little job, cutting the grass for all the people. But he can't take 5 minutes out of his day to talk to us. The At Home Show demands justice. And we need a consensus on what to do. Before we give it to our show's elders as a recommendation, do we allow Corey Smith, the yard boy, Braves fan, though misguided he may be, a chance to redeem himself? Oh, wise elders, we leave it to you. Live from the Green Room Studios, from the spacious property of Bates Nursery and Garden Center, 3810 Whites Creek Pike, it's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
My goodness gracious, have we got an attitude this morning?
He asked me if he knew me. He knows me now.
Oh, okay.
Right. Well, there's always a chance we might hear from the young man.
The yard father. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. It's Saturday morning. What time does that mean? That means it's time for the At Home Show. I'm Josh Cary.
And I am David.
We are joined by the entire At Home crew here inside the Green Room Studios, the palatial Green Room Studios.
But depending on what the camera angle is, it can look palatial.
Well, it's palatial-ish.
It's all perspective. It's forced perspective, and we're forcing you to have a perspective that's...
We're really good. You should be watching us every Saturday morning.
I mean, we try to dispense some information, and we encourage you to engage with us. You can pick up the phone and either leave us a voicemail, or you can send us a text message, 615-499-6690, right there on the screen.
Yeah, it is.
And you can also reach us via our Facebook page,
yes,
The At Home Show with Josh, Cary, and David Bates. Our Instagram page, Cary monitors that, and any other way you could think of. Well, you can send us a letter, I guess, if you wanted to.
Snail mail. That would
Bates,
be great.
It has to come to Bates Nursery if you're
3810 Whites Creek Pike. That's 0.9 miles north of Bradley Parkway at exit 19. What's the zip code here?
37207.
All righty. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Fact-filled. Frivolity may happen. There's a race today. Beats the heck out of the marathon.
Is this the Nashville Grand Prix today?
It is today.
Is it going to be televised?
No, it's on I-24 every day, so I don't know why.
I usually win that one. I'm talking about the one through downtown.
I don't think so. I don't know. It may
it's
probably
streaming on the Peacock channel.
Oh, then I'll have that. Thanks.
Peacock. You have to have Peacock Premium or something.
I've got that.
Peacock Premium.
I'll just watch the
NBC's
replay.
streaming app.
I understand, but it would probably get lost in all the Olympic coverage today. So, but it sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. But I would like to be sitting on top of the bridge, because that's. I understand that it is the only race, the Grand Prix race, that actually crosses water.
And it does it twice.
Yes.
Because they go around Nissan Stadium, across the bridge, through downtown, and then back.
Something like that. Yeah.
Down by the Casey Homes, and then come back up by Allender Plumbing. And
I don't know. I didn't see a map. I just know it's by Nissan Stadium.
It circles around the stadium, then it goes across the bridge, and then just that block right there on like first or second.
So, anybody know the length of the
2 miles.
2 miles?
I heard 2 miles. 2 miles. All right, 615-499-6690. David, it is drizzling outside the studios this morning.
It is, but it won't last long. It's going to be partly cloudy today. And we're going to, we've all noticed the humidity has started to tick back up after a week of really wonderful low humidity, cool temperatures. We're beginning to come back to reality. And today, of course, is Saturday, the 7th of August. My brother Evan's birthday, number 55 for him. So congratulations.
That's Topwater, right? That was his nickname? Yeah. Topwater Bates?
89 degrees for the high today, partly cloudy conditions. 68 for the overnight low. Tomorrow will warm up a bit. 92 degrees, 71 for the overnight low. And as we move for the remainder of the week ahead, there's a chance of thunderstorms, albeit not all that much, apparently. However, you can never rule out the severe, isolated spot where that somebody's going to get 5 inches of rain in about 20 minutes.
And maybe some hail.
Maybe it's, but that's just the way the weather works anymore. So currently it's 71 degrees here in the Music City, live from the green room at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. So looks like it's going to be a good weekend, maybe some showers as we move through the remainder of the week.
There's somebody named Corey Smith that says that the race is tomorrow on NBC Sports Network.
Oh, yeah, it's the Peacock thing.
Huh?
I mean, it's also a channel, but
But it's tomorrow, not today.
I think it is Sunday.
It is.
There's another
Multiple races.
There's another like qualifier today,
Oh.
and there was a practice yesterday.
So they're going to be out on the streets running laps. So
Messing up town.
should be pretty exciting. The first,
Wonder how many pedal taverns will get hit.
I imagine they're going to keep those off of the main part of the raceway. They may cross at a time or two.
The Woo Girls on top of the buses without the roof.
Yeah.
Can we get a woo from the Woo Girls? Can we get anybody? Anybody?
I don't think we brought any in today.
I don't think
no
there's
woo-
any in here.
There's no Woo Girls, but we can get a woo.
There you go.
Okay.
You got it.
Josh is the closest thing we have to a woo girl.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. 615-499-6690. This is the At Home Show. We're here to talk about what you want to talk about. If
Maybe.
you've got gardening, landscape issues, we're in the coming up on the final days of the dog days of summer. And for those of you who don't know, the dog days are so called based on the conjunction of the dog star Sirius. And it's rising and setting with the sun. So the ancients believed that the heat of summer was due to this extra sunlight or starlight coming from the dog star.
Sounds legit to me.
Well, it happens in the summer, but if you're in the northern hemisphere, it also happens in the southern hemisphere, which is not warm down
Is that
there.
the cat star down there?
It's a good question. I don't know. I have no idea. But anyway, the dog days of summer this year more or less officially end on the 11th of August, which I think is Wednesday of this coming week. So, but that doesn't mean anything. It just means that that's the way that it works out astrologically or astronomically, either way you want to look at it.
Astrologically.
It could be if you're into
Astrology.
astrology. There's astrology and astronomy that are all interwoven quite a bit, particularly of things that from 3,500 years ago, whenever they started making this reference. We're pretty much at the limits of what we know already, so maybe you just can tune out the rest of the show because we've already got there. 615-499-6690. Let's say hello to Cary and Austin this morning.
Yes,
Good morning,
good morning.
guys. Glad to have you in. You guys have got a plethora of plant material all around you back there, so we'll be touching on those things. There they are.
Yay.
Sorry, I got
Good morning.
Hey, and we got our good friend Jim Stevens. He's right there hiding in the middle, and we'll be talking to Jim. He's got a special project in his backyard that we're going to talk about today, and he's up in Cleveland, Ohio. So you might think, well, what's that got to do with Middle Tennessee? Poor drainage happens everywhere. It doesn't matter, and the same principles apply.
Does he get
either
that
way.
water from that river that caught on fire?
We'll have to ask him that question.
Okay.
All right. Are we going to go to? I know y'all had a little break here. Joe, want to go ahead and do that and see if that's actually working, Tyler, or what do you think?
Yes, Tyler, that's on you now.
Okay, well, hey, I'm running the
He's in
show.
a mood.
I call the shots.
That's
Yeah.
right. Get it, Tyler.
You just went to Caroline, so maybe we should see if we have any questions first.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you
Come
go.
on
Thank
back
you.
over here. We do have some questions this morning. Are we ready for them?
Yes, and I appreciate someone steering me back on course. That's why I reached out there. I forgot where we could go next. So,
Aye,
go ahead.
Captain.
All right.
Caroline,
So,
go ahead.
Here I go. So from Double Doc on our Instagram page, I'm moving soon. Can I dig up hosta and transplant them at the new house?
Yes, you can. I'm not sure you should. Austin, what do you say about that?
Yes, you can. Really, at any time, you can move hosta. There's certain times that are better. When they're dormant is usually a lot better. So when they lose their leaves, the first frost comes, usually hosta will drop their leaves down, and that's a good time to transplant. Now, in the dead of the summer is not ideal. Can it be done? Yes. Get as much of the root down below as you can. Keep it moist the whole time and transplant it quickly, and then get water back on those roots immediately. So, like I said, not ideal, but can be done.
Yeah, now this is where I tell people, if you're going to transplant something, it's always a good idea. Go dig the hole where it's going to be planted to first.
Yes.
That way, and have it ready to go, so you really minimize the amount of time that you have those out of the ground. If you can delay it as long as you possibly can, because every day that passes, we're getting that much closer to fall. So if you've got to do it now, just keep your expectations low.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other part of that, Cary? I don't remember the other part of the question.
I think that was it. It was
Okay.
just about transplanting hosta to their new home.
Okay.
And don't give up on it. If you do plant it and you see some a response that's not what you would want, it doesn't always necessarily mean it's dead. It may just shut down a little bit early before it normally would, in the ground. But
Right.
next spring, you'd be amazed. A lot of times hosta comes back even if you never would have thought it would.
I had some show up this year that I thought we had taken them out because we just redone a bed on the side of it. But amazingly, after about the fourth season, there they are, right up by the wall of the house.
Well, some
Rhizome.
remnant got left behind, and it took it a while to gather enough energy to be able to push back out foliage again.
All I've got is hostas around the house. I mean, they're everywhere.
And you have shade, obviously.
a lot of shade.
Yeah. And they're a great shade plant. There's nothing really.
You need a vole.
I've got those too.
Oh, okay.
Just not enough to negate.
They usually
the
stay in
hosta.
the front of the yard because I stomp out their stuff and go after them with screwdrivers. So
Wow.
Okay.
In front of the kids. Okay.
It's fierce.
Cary, do you have anything else question-wise out there?
Yes, I do.
right.
I planted a Japanese maple in a pot. I went out of town for a week, and it didn't get watered. The leaves are all dead. Can I save it?
A whole week.
A whole week.
Yeah, and
Can it be brought back?
the people frequently ask me, well, I know if like we have a big rainstorm, well, I know you're glad to got this rain because it really saves you a lot on irrigation. Well, usually what precedes a rainstorm is wind. And when wind goes through and blows all the plants over, the plants that need the water most never get it through the rainfall because they've already been blown over. Then you have to stand them up and then irrigate everything. So all that is to say that when you leave on vacation for a week, it's like not standing up the plants after a storm. It didn't get any rain at all. It's a very finite amount of water in there. This is where I like to encourage folks to do the neighbor watering program, where you find a gardening buddy who doesn't do vacations the same time that you do them, so that when they're gone, you can water their things, and when they're gone, well, what I meant is when they're gone, you water theirs, and when you're gone, they come and water yours, and that makes life a lot better. Will it come back?
Maybe.
Only time will tell. It depends on how bad it got stressed. If it was that week before last, boy, that's not a very good sign. It was really hot. It was excruciatingly hot, and so your timing is really poor.
Jim, you need to feed that squirrel a peanut. I think to get him something going on there. That's what you're hearing. We have wildlife because we're going to be bringing a guest into the studio here, and he's already monitoring the program. But things are going on, and we're having some fun. 615-499-6690. Anything else, Cary?
Yes, we do have a couple more. I would like to get low maintenance houseplants for my classroom. There's not a lot of light. One window. Suggestions.
Well, you can't have houseplants in the class. It has to be class plants.
Oh yeah, good point.
So,
But I think we have some class plants as well, and also classy plants. But as far as low maintenance class plants go, Sansevieria is always a good one to go for. Low light, low water. It doesn't grow fast, so if you're looking for something to get your students excited about, one other option would be a peace lily, another low light. It lets you know when it needs watering. It starts drooping, so that could be a good learning experience depending on the age of your students. We also have some really cool carnivorous plants in stock right now that can go near that window. That would be really exciting to watch. If you do have a lot of bugs in your classroom, it's going to help out with that, and the plant's actually going to grow a lot faster. And
it's always a source of great curiosity and attraction for all the students when they get to see those trigger hairs. And of course, you can, if you have a like a Venus flytrap, for instance, there are little trigger hairs inside the little traps. You can just take a little needle or something and just gently strike one of those.
Yeah, but that kid in the third row on the left,
and it'll close. And if there's no food in there, they'll reopen. So if you ever put like a fly or something in it, it's not going to reopen. It's going to digest that, and that one's going to go down. It takes that energy into the plant. So that's the curiosity of carnivorous plants, that they get their energy additionally from other sources beyond what they're drawing it from their root system.
Right, it's pretty cool. And you don't have to fertilize them, and actually you want to steer clear of any soil that has additives in it. So I usually suggest like peat moss for potting them up.
Something that's just no nutritional in there that doesn't really need.
Because they grow in the swamp, don't they? I mean, for the most
North
part.
Carolina is where they're indigenous to. So that's one of those unusual plants that you would think about. Probably coming from the jungles of Africa.
Well, it's vinegar based. It's vinegar based sauce on them that they're probably would be used on them instead of the red sauce or the mustard sauce like they use in South Carolina.
Okay, you probably lost everybody as much as you lost me on that.
Yeah, we're all gone.
Yeah. So, but Josh knows what he's talking about.
Yes, I do.
So anyway,
I make perfect sense to myself.
615-499-6690. Tyler, at this point, why don't we go ahead and do that little break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk to our guest, Jim Stevens, about what's going on in his yard.
It's never too early to get a leg up on what you'll need at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. Whether it's trees or shrubs, flowers or ornamentals, David Bates and his team have exactly what you're looking for, and they have exactly what you need to ensure it thrives too. If you're a Bates Rewards member, you can get 20% off all pottery and containers, as well as Earth Mix Proganic Sci and Proganic Sow, through Thursday, August 12th. Stop in and see us today. We're located 1 mile north of Briley Parkway off Whites Creek Pike and minutes from downtown Nashville. Bates Nursery and Garden Center, beautifying Nashville since 1932.
All right, and
we're back.
For that, we are back, and I think this is the time where we'll try to somewhat smoothly segue into our very special guest. We have been privileged to have a long line of distinguished professionals in our broadcast career, Josh. Yesterday, for instance, you know whose birthday it was?
No, I don't.
It was the Round Mound of Sound's Big 4-0. A big shout out to Chris Ladd. Congratulations on
it's
the
all downhill from here, big boy.
Yeah. And, of course, we have Tyler and Michael here in the studio. And we're coming to the airwaves now. Our good friend Jim Stevens, who was 20 years ago, Jim, that you...
he taught Sergeant Pepper how to band to play?
Yeah, it was that long ago. Hard to believe. Time flies.
It has been a long time, and we're glad to have you on this morning. You contacted me earlier this week wanting to talk about some issues going on in your backyard, and you've sent me some photographs. We've got one up here above your head there on the screen, and it looks like grass on both sides and kind of a strip where you've got no vegetation. Tell us am I looking at these pictures in the right order, or do I need to go to another one first?
There's no order to them. They just pictures of the backyard. That is outside of our back, which we had a big drainage problem. We've had to have the foundation jacked up because water is getting underneath. And so what we ended up doing was having some perf pipe put in. That's one section of it there. There's another section that runs down the entire side of the house and then out into the backyard. And where we're trying to fix up is all the way in the back of the yard. And I'm looking, that's where the drainage pipe, that's like 180 degrees from the picture you just had up.
Right.
So that's looking over towards the property line. Then the back patio got poured in. That's now 90 degrees to the right, looking out to the backyard, and you can see the edge of the where the pipe ends out there in the yard.
Wow.
That side of the yard was a swamp in the spring, so that's what we're trying to alleviate.
Now, is it still wet, Jim? Is it still wet at all?
I'm sorry, Greg?
Is it still wet, or does it?
In the summertime, it's damp, but it's not wet. There's no standing water. In the spring and in the winter, if the snow is melted, it's standing water.
So, are you finding that you largely have only like weedy vegetative growth? You haven't been able to successfully grow, because ryegrass is probably what you have in your yard. Is that correct?
Almost
correct.
guaranteed.
And mostly what's back there is moss.
Right. Well, and that's an indication of there being no rolling stones back there, because otherwise they would gather no moss.
Right.
That's true. And there's also just bare ground because it's underwater for so long, nothing can grow.
Yeah. Now, if the water situation can be alleviated, it doesn't necessarily mean that the moss situation is going to go away, because that's usually indicative of there being quite a lot of shade back there as well. So is the case correct? I do see a lot of trees back there on the tree line behind you.
See them over.
Yep.
Yeah, over my shoulder you can see them.
So
I'll tilt them.
So, Austin, I want to bring you in here to the conversation for just a moment. Let's talk about what's going on in Jim's backyard. Obviously, when you've got, and Jim had indicated to me earlier, tell me if I'm wrong, Jim, that you have largely a clay composition soil back there. So it really does not perk. It stands in water badly, and therein lies the problem, correct?
Yeah, once it gets wet, it stays wet, and it doesn't perk very well at all. So that's why I'm trying to raise up that area in the back, that one picture I sent you.
Okay, so Austin, let's talk about, first of all, assuming he's able to increase the elevation enough, it doesn't eliminate the water problem. If you just put dirt over the top of other dirt that's not perking, you're going to have a pile of non-perking dirt.
Yeah.
And it may be that there are issues here, Jim, that require a little more work on the drainage side. Now, I don't know if your pipe goes throughout this entire area or not, or if you have the ability to add a French drain into it, but there are certainly some things you can do to work on the soil itself to increase its capacity to be able to percolate the water so it doesn't stand there so much. Austin, why don't you talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, it just seems like that we need to fix more stuff down below, I guess. I mean, before we start working on the top of it.
Right.
It seems like that water, if it's pulling not just on top, but down below as well. So we got to get that water going somewhere elsewhere. More pipes, or like you said, a French drain, something's got to happen so the water's not sitting on top. It's got to go somewhere down below. Now, once we get it down below, running away, going somewhere else, then we can, work on the top bit of the soil to improve it and to improve drainage by adding, certain materials. Expanded shale, we have pine fines, soil conditioner, all sorts of stuff, gypsum.
Yep.
To loosen up heavy clay soils if it is, heavier clay. There's a number of things we can do after the issue down below is fixed.
So go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, the pipe that extends most of the way out through the side of the backyard actually has an opening. They put a 90-degree bend in, and it's got a cap on it, an open cap where water could pour in. And my thinking was, if I raised the soil up enough, I could channel it so what water does land, or when the snow melts, it rolls that way, so it catches that pipe and out she goes.
And one of the big things you have working against you, and tell me if I'm wrong on assuming this, but that the area you live in is very flat, is it not? I mean, there's not a lot of hills, and so drainage.
You're on the lake lane here.
Yeah, so drainage becomes extremely critical, because it's very difficult to send water in a particular direction when you don't have elevation to work with. So what Austin was referring to is perhaps getting below the surface of the ground and trying to create some French drains to perhaps carry that water on that. Now, you say they capped one area that may give you an opportunity to be able to extend what's already there.
And tag on to that and move on with it.
But one thing's for sure, you can't, so to speak, eyeball these things when you're talking about close drainage tolerances like you're talking about. Someone with a a transit and level will have to get out there and shoot some grades to establish the direction of fall, so that you're not just out there. It's that confusion between activity and production. You can be very active.
Well, Jim's good at that.
Well, yeah, but I'm not. But the thing of it is, there's quite a bit of work involved in this. And if you're going to rent equipment, which I know, Jim, you obviously are no stranger to, even if we're talking about trenchers, you don't want to find out what's buried below the ground, and that's another story altogether. We covered that a few years ago when
he shut down the city of Houston.
Well, not the entire city. It was just
that 1/3 of it down there on the south side. Yeah. But question for you guys, Jim, do you like the look of a raised bed? I mean, a raised area where you could either do it with the concrete walls that are available, the little connection type of places where they kind of stack them up and go, or wood, or even
actually, if you look at the one picture in the back, there is a raised bed at the very end of the lot back there. And part of the problem is I have to be careful. I can't, not that one, but right there. You can see there's a raised bed
along where the fence is there.
It's not raised very much.
Yeah, therein lies the problem.
Good 6 inches.
Yeah, 6 inches. I mean, that's a big raised area, and that just points out what I'm talking about, is that you're basically working with almost no elevation change. I mean, it's just pancake flat all the way across, so it really makes it tough. Whereas here in Middle Tennessee and a lot of other areas where you have rolling hills, and you pretty much can send water some direction, or at least give it a place to alleviate or to move out of. You may be in an area that's so I've got an area in the backyard here next to the nursery where it's a trapped area. I actually had to install a big sump pump, and drain in there and lift the water up and over to get it to an area to remove it. Now that's a fairly extreme thing. However, it does have some advantages in that it gives you the ability to put the pump where the water problem is, and by trenching and running enough pipe, you can move the water out to the area that gets it up and over the grade. So there are some.
Right. I think part of the problem here is, though, that every yard around me has the same problem with standing water. Yeah. So I thought about something like that.
Yeah, where are you going to go with it?
I think what I'd end up doing is draining everyone's yard.
Well, what I'm thinking, and again,
be expensive for the electric bill side of it, if nothing else.
Well, what I'm thinking is that if we went up, let's say, another 18 inches with something.
Well, you were talking about putting in some kind of enclosure. Whether you can't do that. Jim?
No, if I tried to do that, the water would run off onto somebody else's property, and that's against the rules up here.
Hey, what about this? What about we go down? Yep. What about a little pond?
Yeah,
potentially.
If you've got lemons, make a lemonade.
Yeah, I mean, so maybe if you've got a spot that's holding water, why don't we maybe keep the water, make you a little pond, dig down,
do some aquatics, some marginal plants.
Yeah, landscape around
that
it.
That was nice. In my. If this didn't work, that was going to be like Plan B or Plan C, was just to go ahead and make it a little pond back there with some sort of growing vegetation in the water.
Mm-hmm. Elephant ear. There's a number of plants we could landscape with around it and put some rock around it.
Well, remember, unlike Middle Tennessee, it gets really cold up here.
Oh, I forgot you're up there.
Yeah, so equisetum, would that come back, or
probably? God,
what about ferns?
Well, the ferns will live temperature wise, but it will probably rot them out, being that much
moisture.
They're not a marginal plant when they like to be evenly moist, but
they don't want to. Now in that raised bed.
There are in the raised bed, but not in the areas that are going to be where it stays wet for long periods of time, because it'll just rot them out.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've got some choices. All of them involve work, and all of them probably involve machinery, and those are things that you are well acquainted with. By the way, we did show some.
I'm kind of disappointed, because I was really hoping you would bring up something like going to NASCAR and borrowing one of those machines they use to dry the track.
So there is that.
Well, and since it gets so cold up there, you could have the neighborhood skating pond in the wintertime, and you could have hockey lessons out there.
That's true, but I don't need to do anything to have that because that happens now.
Okay.
Well, unfortunately, you've got a situation that there's no fix for or one that's going to be absolutely clear because all of the neighbors that surround you all are dealing with the same elevation changes. There's no, unless you run your drain pipe from the pump all the way out to the lake,
sewer, yeah.
to the Great Lake or to the sewer, where you pump it out, over some long distance. There's nowhere for the water to go. It has to move ultimately down or evaporate off after enough warm weather returns.
Well, isn't that? And I like Austin's idea, but
what I'm looking at now is if there is an elevation change, it's from the back of the property to the front of the property because that's the way the water seems to gravitate on its own.
Right.
And so what I'm hoping is that the 3 pipes we've put in will catch as much water as they can before it gets under the house, and then that's draining into the storm sewer, and that's legal. We're good there. It was just the very back of the yard. I didn't to run a pipe all the way back there was, for me, would have been prohibitively expensive versus what I was the advantage of it.
Well,
see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know that there's a fix that is going to take care of that shy of that because ultimately you got to be able to move the water somewhere.
And you may be able to do it with something just as simple as a small sump pump and garden hoses. I mean, you may be able to take it out there if you can legally put it to the street. But how many now? You say this happens in the spring and after the melt. Is that like a 30-day period that you're talking about, or 15 couple of weeks, or what?
It can be anywhere from this year, since we didn't get a whole lot of snow over the winter. It hardly happened at all. It happened for maybe a week period.
Okay.
But if we have a long, cold winter with a lot of snow and it's really wet, it can last up to a month.
Okay.
Well, drainage situations
really depends on how fast it warms up.
Right.
Drainage situations are among the most difficult situations to deal with in the landscape. One of the things that's worth taking note for others who may be listening to what we're talking about is when you have standing water in your yard, it's a good idea to keep you either some marking paint or some little irrigation flags so that you can mark the perimeter of it. And because I always think I'm going to remember precisely where it is. The truth of it is I don't ever remember precisely where it is. So if you're talking about filling enough in there to displace that amount of water, that's the information you really need to have to be able to get out to the edges and send that water so that it at least dries at the same rate as everything else, so that you don't have it standing in water for this extended period of time. So it's, unfortunately, I don't know that this is going to be a situation that's going to be easily resolved. It may be something that you are working on over a period of years and doing observations and trying one thing, and if that doesn't work, trying something else. But simply adding topsoil to the area
is not going to help.
It may be putting Band-Aid on it. It may not actually take care of it. So
could maybe think about a rain garden too. I mean, maybe not necessarily a pond, a wetland area, but just a rain garden. There's tons of
cattails
and let's
grasses.
You've got some willows there behind you. Let's look at. I don't know if you can see from Cary's shot the willows that are behind her.
Yeah, I have a lot behind me.
Those are
Come on, Tyler, bring it over here.
There's some native willows here, but I'm pretty sure they'll live up where you're at too.
Yeah,
I mean,
all of those willows are quite hardy. So using vegetation that is naturally adept at and really loves the high water areas that you literally cannot overwater. And bald cypress, another thing you might consider going in there. You cannot.
Would they be hardy in that far north?
I'm almost certain.
Okay.
What about weeping willows? Because are those same thing?
Yeah.
The willow in the same family, but yes, your weeping willows. The thing about your fast-growing things like weeping willows and willows in general is that they don't live a long time. Now,
and one would take over that area in 5 years?
And in 10 it'll be gone.
Yeah.
Because they'll grow so fast that they grow themselves to death, and then they're
real shallow roots.
The wind will blow it over, and then you've got a tree to remove, and so that's the other side of that. But
chainsaw.
You're not allowed to use those anymore, remember? Now, Jim, but we got to get a little history on Jim. Jim, we talked about his project and stuff like that.
He's a world traveler.
Jim
What is with
Stevens.
this guy?
He is he was a former producer of the At Home show from the very early days of the At Home program over
Absolutely.
at WTN, and has continued to be a longtime friend and has called us from Russia and Australia and Slobovia. And
Were you in Micronesia?
He was on the moon once, I think.
You called us from
Chernobyl.
Chernobyl, yes.
Chernobyl.
We had a live report from Chernobyl. And are you still suffering from the effects of that? Do you still glow in the dark, I guess is what.
He has to cut that horn off the back of his
No
head.
need for night lights with me.
But Jim, I think I kind of like. What about cane? Like a river cane with that
Like bamboo type.
Not necessarily a bamboo, but I mean,
that's
Just
what.
be careful.
Yeah. It's highly invasive. If you have a native type that's in your area, you could use that, but it will take over.
It will, yeah. Grasses are good. I got some grasses here next to me that are nice to mass in areas, and I think a rain garden may be the way to go for you, and just kind of research and look around for some plants that'll live in your area for wet feet all the time with heavy roots that'll kind of soak up that water, and that might be the way to go.
What do you have there, Austin?
This is a northwind switchgrass here, very upright. This is another switchgrass over here to the left of me. It's just a different variety called Gunsmoke. It's got some good fall color to it, purplish, reddish type of look. But both very good for moist areas that need to be soaked up a little.
and it'll also give you some screening effect as well. If you're worried about what the neighbors might have
And you could put like a rock border around it or something, like make the whole area, a whole scene, and work with what you got, but use plants that'll live there.
As long as you're not, you can put a border around there. As long as you're not increasing the elevation noticeably, right, Jim? So you can add a little bit of soil, but you don't want to get in there and add a bunch because someone will cry foul, and then you'll be having to take it all out. And
Who's going to have chickens in that? Can they have chickens?
not that kind of foul. Foul. Josh, not FOWL. He doesn't get any better, Jim. It's just the
Same old jokes too, Jim.
It's the same thing it's always been.
Yeah, it's like 20 years ago coming right back at you.
All right, Jim.
Guys, thank you very much.
Hey, we really appreciate you coming on this morning. Always great to see you. You know how to reach us now. So you come on, and if you've got other things, if you've got travel plans coming up, or if you're having to be in some far flung place, we'd love to have you on. And you can now that you've got our connection. You just come on.
He found the Smyrna airport. I finally put him. He found the Smyrna airport. So I mean, you can get picked up. You can get an Uber from right down the street if you go into Smyrna.
John Toon may be a little closer to where we are.
I will tell you this. The next we were going to try and do Scotland last month, but they extended the travel ban, so we couldn't do that. Yeah. Scotland is on the list now for late October, early November for Christmas decorations, since they don't celebrate Thanksgiving over there. And I will make sure that when we are there, we will walk you through the Christmas decorations.
Cool.
Very good. We'll look forward to that. As always, thank you, Jim. We'll see you soon. So take care. Hopefully you can get some resolution to your various issues going wrong in your backyard there. It's a tough thing to deal with when you've got too much water.
Well, a thing, I can't see how a raised bed, let's just say we were going to put something in there 18, 24 inches tall with an additional ADS pipe or drainage underneath of it. I don't see how that's redirecting anything. If he's already got 6 inches, I can't imagine that it's going to push a whole lot more water off onto his neighbor. Do you, Austin? I mean, and if you can get it up out of the ground, I mean, I think he'd be able to put just about anything back there that would be a shade tolerant, because it'd be a beautiful spot for azaleas if he could get them to go.
They will.
They'll die with the water.
Even hostas, which will certainly are very shade tolerant, continual wet feet.
Right. Azaleas don't either. Azaleas hate.
No, they hate it. So you have a very limited palette, and a lot of it's going to have to do with just making best use of what will grow and live in the area
Well, Kim was it- yeah, Kim-
from a cold tolerance side,
Right.
and then also from the wet feet tolerance.
Well,
side.
Kim was in last week, and I think she had a client she told us about on one of her visits where they actually take the moss and use it in the pathway with stepping stones and bringing it around and just using what they have there that we know grows.
And we want to we'd be remiss if we didn't give a shout out to Kim Bradley. We do appreciate her being on last week and giving us some really great insight on some perennial gardening tips and great many other things. Hey, let's take a moment and talk about.
Okay.
And that's part of the reason why we're here every Saturday. And we want you to get the very best results you can out of growing the plants that are in your yards. And we feel like the Earth Mix gives you that opportunity. 100% organic. You know, we like to say success begins at the ground level. It's all created and developed right here in Nashville, Tennessee. 100% organic, sustainably produced. Everything is done without chemicals at all. The only thing that Earth Mix garden products are humic acid and mycorrhizal fungi, both endo and ecto mycorrhizal fungi, I might add. And what those do is that gives you the maximum benefit of all the things that Mother Nature already provides. It's just given to you at a optimal level so that you can get, whenever you use Earth Mix garden products, you don't have to fertilize for a month to 6 weeks because it's so naturally nutritive. And so it's available all over Middle Tennessee and Kentucky. Go to the Find Earth Mix tab at earthmix.net. Once you click on there, you'll see that there's all these pins that will show up, all the locations around Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, even up into Ohio and Indiana. So check all those out at earthmix.net. And remember, once again, that success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix garden products. And we appreciate you taking a moment to let us talk about that. And also say quickly, here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center is there was a little spot we ran earlier, 20% off all containers. Everything pottery containers, all 20% off if you're a Bates Rewards member and you know who you are. And if you're not, it's really easy to sign up. Just come in and take 30 seconds, and we don't share your information with anyone for any reason. Send off all containers and Proganics I, which is the indoor organic growing mix, or Proganics O, which is the outdoor. So 20% off on the pottery and the things soil-wise to grow your plants in. So come check that out here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center.
And Lita Robinson has commented on the At Home Show with Paige is that she enjoyed Austin's program on crepe myrtles. And that was this week. So
Thank you. Yep, I enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.
Cindy,
Go ahead.
you go ahead first.
I didn't. I was pretty much done.
No, he's done.
He was just saying thanks, and we do appreciate it. Austin puts out some great stuff, be it it's worth a grow or in the pro tips segment. Both are very informative and direct and to the point.
Cindy has a question.
All
Says
right.
she bought a purple dome aster fall of 2019, grew great in 2020, turned brown in August. Made sure it was watered well this year, and it's all brown again after growing and looking great. Brown starts at the bottom.
It's at August. It's August
I was
again.
about to say heat. That just sounds like heat.
Could be, but that's not. I mean, asters bloom in the fall. We want them looking good until the fall. You know, they're similar to mums and when they're going to bloom. So we don't want it going brown now. And if it's starting at the bottom, usually could be some sort of fungal issue, I would assume.
Yeah, there have been a lot of fungal issues.
This year specifically, golly.
A lot of powdery mildew, a lot of different pathogens out there. So that's one of those things where if you can get some photographs and send those to us, we'll be glad to give them a look over so we can perhaps give a better idea as to what the pathogen might be or what the possible remedy to the situation is.
Check for moisture. That's usually an issue, like we were just talking about. Drainage might be playing a role in that. But like I said, we want your plant to be pretty up into the fall because that's whenever it's a showstopper. So we need to try to fix it earlier than now.
Right. Hey, you know, we can be reached telephonically.
Yes.
You can.
And if you are stored in our system, you can get in like this young man.
Yeah, the yard boy.
Yard father?
Yeah.
Corey, are you there?
I'm here, and I heard you talking about some young man, so I didn't think that was me.
Well, Michael, I think Michael misses you.
I do. I want you to come by. I need some of that bacon.
Oh, well.
He's got pork chops this weekend too, I think. So, but
yeah, I got pork chops too.
How are things in the yard boy world? I know you're probably covered up busy right about now. Grass is growing, and we're here in the first week of August. We've had not a dry summer, so that's keeping it going for you. What are you doing to keep up with the demands that are placed on you by grass cutting alone?
Well, you know how you started the show, David, talking about there's going to be those local spots where you might get 5 inches dumped on you in 20 minutes?
Yes.
I'm under one of those right at this moment. If you look at the Doppler weather radar on that 120-mile scan, one of my routines every morning, and is I always look at the radar first thing when I wake up in the morning just to see what's going on. And there was nothing at 5:30 this morning. And so I make the trek to go pick up the truck and going to mow around the home office and a few places here in the greater metropolitan downtown business district next to famous Fields, Corn Liquor Field. And I get headed back home with the truck and I start seeing sprinkles on the windshield and pulling up, and that gum, there's not that big orange purple blob right over where I'm headed to. So,
well, I do see some on the map here. I do see some down south of town. Southeast of Lawrenceburg and directly north of Huntsville, just over.
That's kind of Petersburgish.
Giles County.
That would be the kind of Petersburgish area there.
So yep, that's you're definitely getting it, and it's a very strange phenomenon how that 5 miles away there might not be anything going on, but you've got some pretty significant precipitation coming down there now. And I guess, does that thwart you for all your grass cutting plans for the day, or you maybe get a shot this afternoon when things dry out a bit?
Well, if it weren't for a certain little 7-year-old little girl's birthday party this afternoon, I probably could get some in, but looking like it might be a Sunday afternoon if the preacher doesn't talk too long tomorrow at church.
Well, certainly you'll be able to get out there and deal with it. But, I have talked with a few folks this week that had some 5-inch rain events in short order, not necessarily in 20 minutes, but over a couple of hours. And that's a lot of water with nowhere to go when it falls that fast. And so, it's kind of our
it's usually a little windy when that happens as well.
Our atmosphere gets supercharged anymore. And because of that, the ability for it to store moisture and dump it in a very localized area is phenomenal, to say the very least.
But it cleaned off the square. I mean,
no, Ajax won't do that. It's going to take a whole lot more than that. So.
Well, it would wash all the Red Bull cans down into the ditch anyway, wouldn't it?
That's what I hear. I hear there's a problem with Red Bull cans.
Yeah, he picks it. I know Corey loves Petersburg, and I happen to be in the Petersburg Metropolitan Business District, just off the square thing. And I was looking for the Yard of the Month sign, and
didn't see it.
I think somebody stole it.
Uh-oh.
No, it was in for routine maintenance, and that's why you missed it. So it gets a lot of heavy use. It has to go in for its biannual cleaning every now and then. So.
Then put back out into the winter's yard.
How many months in a row now, Corey?
I think we're working on like 364 or something like that.
Well,
consecutive.
Obviously, it's a hotly contested category for the yard of the month or year.
Oh, yeah. It's very highly contested, let me just tell you.
Well, there was one that you and again, if you don't follow the Yard Boy on social media, you should. He's probably getting close to his limit of friends, but you had one stellar yard featured on your social media where it looked like some of Austin's native grasses or some of his purple stuff out there. Looks like they were growing those wild in the entire yard.
Oh yeah, well that's the hot trend around here these days is to
Jungle
get it
look?
up about chest. Going for that jungle look.
Okay.
About chest high, all over the entire yard or higher.
At least. The Johnson grass, when it goes to seed, it can get on up above your head at some place.
It's pretty too, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is. It's wonderful.
It's the eye of the
Great for
beholder.
the allergies. Great for the allergies. Let me just tell you.
The eye of the beholder rule always applies. Well, I just talk before you go here. Let's talk for just a minute about your other endeavor, and that's your Smith Meats that you do. Now you guys really do a great job on a whole line of products, and you do those mail order as well. Is that right?
No, we haven't got it in the mail order yet.
Okay.
He's got a hell of a delivery system though.
But I'll be honest with you, David. I've got to look into it because, as you know, the real estate market has gotten real hot in Middle Tennessee, and granted that there are a lot of people moving here, there's also a lot of people on a mass exodus out of here too. And so I've got some folks that have moved out of state, and they're missing their bacon and their pork chops. So not going to say we're getting in the mail order, but could be very well looking at ways to start shipping it to folks as well.
So if they want to find out what products you got, how do they do that, Corey?
Well, you just head over to ineedbacon.com and you'll find everything you need there. And while you're there at the top of the page, click on the link and get on our email newsletter. And we don't sell your information to people either. We just give you a 30% discount on your first order of bacon.
Hey, what a deal. I will tell you from personal experience, it's really good stuff. So ineedbacon.com. Mr. Corey Smith, a.k.a. Yard Boy.
Yard Father. He's no longer the Yard Boy. He's the Yard Father.
Well,
that old Yard Boy.
He's the we're going to call him the Turf Daddy.
Turf Daddy. There you go.
I like that one, Turf Daddy. You know what? I'm going to suggest that to my wife here in just a minute.
Turf Daddy.
Just call me Turf Daddy, baby.
All right, Corey. Hey, always great to hear from you. Glad to know you're doing well.
Too, guys.
See you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, brave suck. Bye.
See you guys.
He is a character, to say the least. His mama loves him, though.
The Turf Daddy himself.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I like that, David.
Sometimes I come up with one every now and then. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut on occasion. 615-49
or a blind hog in the bacon case.
615-499-6690, and you can leave us a voicemail or a text message there. And Cary, I believe you still had another comment out there from someone with a question?
Yes, I did. Let me pull it up real quick.
I caught you off guard there.
You did. I would like to redo the flooring in a room in my home, painting an old scratched hardwood floor to add some color, suggestions on paint type, and the process to go with.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a
I've never seen him at a loss for words.
It's just that it's
somebody got you, Josh.
It's such a simple process, right?
And I hope you keep some extra paint, because it's going to be one of those things, if you're trying to get color, the most reliable, of course, you can go to your paint specialty store. I would really steer you towards one of those as opposed to a big box in this case.
And give us the reason for that, Josh.
They know what they're talking about.
And that's all they do.
And again, nothing against the big box paint stores, because they do a really good job and they sell a bunch of stuff. But when you're dealing with a specialty store, whether it be a Sherwin-Williams or a Porter or a ICI or one of these other ones, you're probably going to get the best instruction on what it is that you're going to do. You're going to have to clean that thing like you've never seen it before. And in my experience, the color palette for the true porch and floor type of paints, it's not going to pop a whole lot of color. You're going to get maybe a beautiful shade of brown and maybe a battleship gray.
What's that process they call like pickling, where it kind of gives
you're going to have to see. We don't know whether you've got a wax finished floor. We don't know if you've got polyurethane on the floor.
Is it pre-finished?
It could be a pre-finished hardwood. It sounds more likely that it's the old sand and finish type of stuff.
So will they possibly need to resand it or sand it lightly or do some prep like that?
Doing it and for me, if I were going to attempt to do this, because I've seen some beautiful painted floors, I would probably sand it completely off, take that top layer off completely, do your paint, and then actually seal over the top of the paint surfaces that's going to be going on with
and
it.
that gives you a chance to actually get that pigment down into.
Well, it's going to protect
it's just lying on
but
top.
You got let's just say you have pets, you've got toenails crushing across it, you're walking across it, you're moving furniture. There's all kinds of little.
It's nothing worse than seeing those toenail erosion marks on your.
Have you ever? Do you have hardwoods in your house?
You just get a visual of what it takes to make. You got to do your. You got to walk with
say, do we need to have like a hygiene lesson?
You get the skid going on with it, but
pick up your feet when you don't be dragging your toenails.
Probably going to want to do it in the dining room where you're scooting chairs back and forth.
I mean, is this on the full moon when you're becoming a werewolf or something?
No, that's the dog star. That's a Sirius thing. Sirius Black. No, he wasn't a werewolf. He was a wizard, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's Harry Potter, Sirius Black.
Yeah, Sirius was a...
Well, we're going to blend enough stuff.
Did you read that in cuneiform, Josh?
Sanskrit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it predated cuneiform.
Okay.
Yes, it did. Look it up. Huh? You want to go all archaeological stuff on us here?
Are you going to finish your point?
Well, anyway, the thing is, it's not just a radio podcast live stream kind of an answer. You're gonna have to sit and talk to somebody at the store and get the proper equipment. You're gonna, again, cleaning that floor is going to be absolutely critical.
I will say one of the things that will help a lot, should you want to paint like your dining room you refer to, is getting those little felt sliders, the feet on the bottom of the chairs, and we have those.
They're so much fun to put on, too.
Well, but they work great because you can just slide right across a hardwood floor, and it doesn't mark it at all, and they really slide effortlessly. So,
popping the color is a great idea, but I mean, there are different kinds of stains that you might want to consider as opposed to a paint, and then you could put the surface that's going to be able to maintain it for a longer time.
Would you say the cleaning, sanding portion of that would probably be the bulk of the actual work?
If you've ever painted a floor. You've never painted a floor? You want to start on the far end, and you want to.
Which one's the far end?
That's the one that gives you doesn't give you an access out. It's kind of like what Cary got into her spot this morning.
Gotcha.
She
had to crawl in.
She had to build it in, so you don't want to get painted into the corner. The prep work on any kind of paint product or project is always the most work. The painting is actually the easy part in my mind and in my experience. But
what I'm getting at though is if someone's considering doing this, it's easy in their heads to want to jump ahead to where I just want to paint it and all that. But they should take the time to really make sure everything's sanded and everything else.
Yes, doing it properly, and don't give up on it. Again, just because they do it on certain TV channels, that you can do anything inside the space of 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah, they can make it happen.
In reality, that's not the way it goes. Yeah, use of water-based paint is probably going to be what you're going to probably find. But if you've got this house and you've got people that are sensitive to oil-based paints or solvent-based paints, which are really better, you're going to have to deal with that as well. And
what's that paint you were talking about? And this has been a long time ago, but you guys said it was almost like cake batter.
Well, that was the deck over product that we used on the outside of that. And we've actually got some wear on our deck, even with all the work that we did. And we had David, what did we estimate? I think I said we had about 120 man hours.
That's a lot, and it's always frustrating when you start to see it pop up off there because it's, just face it, paint doesn't stick to wood very well.
Well, and it's a wear area.
At least not everywhere.
Right, and right in front of the gate. That's right there where that wear area is. So it could be toenail scratches. I'm thinking it could possibly have been toenail scratches.
I think somebody needs to learn how to pick their feet up.
I think someone needs to learn how to use clippers.
On the dog?
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about.
You don't have a drama queen.
I thought you were talking about you.
No, yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't know you were talking about a dog, Josh. Well,
they don't have thumbs. They can't cut their own toenails. Come on.
I don't know. They usually don't like it. Do your dogs? Do they take toenail clipping voluntarily, or do you have to sedate them to get them?
Actually, we do. There's one that has to go has to get a little happy. All right, folks, the music means that we are out of time for this edition of the At Home Show. We didn't get a plant rant this morning. We just ran slam out of time.
So sad.
Well,
I'll just double it up next week.
There you go. And Austin, good job.
Thanks to Jim Stevens for being on today. Corey
Tyler's been
Smith.
really quiet this morning as well.
Yeah, because I'm switching cameras. I got six people going at the same time.
He's busy.
But,
Thank you, Tyler.
I'm
Thank
at
you
my
all.
mental limits, but I love you.
All righty, folks, we're done for this edition, but next Saturday morning we're going to come back. We're going to do it again. You can look at us anytime you want to on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you're on LinkedIn, hey, connect with David or I or ourselves, and you'll be able to connect it there. Share the page with everybody. If you've got a group that you like, Tennessee Gardeners, we're going to try to get some folks in there. Share the news so we can help you out. We'll see you next Saturday morning for the At Home Show from the Green Room Studios here at Bates